Positive Anime Reviews is a review show that is designed for people who aren't very picky about their anime, like me. Most anime I watch ends up in my 5 out of 5 category. My reviews are for those people who are looking for a reason to watch anime rather than hate on it. I am willing to give any and all anime a chance before stating my opinion. Lastly, my reviews are all my opinion and might and or most likely won't match yours. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. Just be respectful in the comment section. Thank you. And as always, there is a spoiler section ahead, but don't worry, I'll warn you first. Hey guys, Darth Gloric here, back with another positive anime review. Today we will be talking about Yuru Yuri Season 2. So, of course, our last review was for No Game, No Life plus the movie. And of course, the review before that, actually very, very soon before then, was Yuru Yuri Season 1. So, in case you have just popped in for this review and you missed my other ones, so basically the next few reviews are going to be a little bit different, a little bit weird. So, I am watching different shows between each season of Yuru Yuri, and the reason for that is because I do like slice of life, and I mean I often can enjoy slice of life, and I sometimes can get behind comedy, and so but it's a little too much because there's like at least 3 seasons of Yuru Yuri, so because of that it's a little hard to get through. So I am dividing it up into each season separately, and I'm watching short anime between each season, so that way I can kind of get everything done, but not have to sit through it in all in one sitting. Plus, that way you guys get reviews sooner. So, anyway, so in case you've just popped in, that's how we've been doing this, and that is what is going to continue to happen. So, so the name of this season, it says Yuru Yuri. Man, that's hard to say with my stutter. And then there's 2 little music notes, and so those, and I'm not a music person. I don't know how to read music, and so I don't know what those little music notes are, but I know that they're music notes. So there's 2 little music notes, but most likely, just for simplicity, I am probably just going to call it Yuru Yuri Season 2, and then I will probably call it that in my title, and probably in my description, probably the thumbnail. That's probably what I'll just do, because I don't know if you can put those little music notes in the YouTube title, for one, and 2, it would be a lot of work if you could. So anyway, so that's the plan. So, when did this anime air? This anime aired in the summer 2012 season. So, of course, it is it was a little while ago at this point, but that's all right. Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I don't remember. Let's see. When did the first season? Let me go ahead and back up just a second. Okay, the first season was summer of... Okay, so it was a year later. So a year later, they got out the second season. Okay. Anyway... So yeah, as far as is there a dub, I don't know. I would lean towards yes, but that's a complete guess. I don't know for sure. But if there is, I wouldn't mind checking it out, actually. Just because, some anime do have a good dub. There is some anime that I think have great dubs, but is a very, very small list. I watch sub 9 times out of 10, but occasionally for stuff that I really like, I often watch the dub later on, after I've watched it subbed first. And so that's often how it goes with me. And so if this thing does have a dub, I should totally check it out. Anyway, so as far as is this an adaptation from a manga, the answer to that is, let me find it. Yes, it is. This is an adaptation from a manga. Speaking of which, I absolutely should read the manga too. Anyway, so we will of course be launching right into the synopsis, so that way, it'll be the quickest way to summarize anything I could possibly say about the anime. So first, let me take a drink from my poor dry throat, and we'll hop into this. Okay. Alright, the girls of the amusement club return in Yuru Yuri Season 2, finding new ways to make passing time even more enjoyable. Their members consist of the always energetic Kyoko Toshino, calm and sensible Yui Funami, polite but often overlooked Akari Akaza, and Shinatsu Yoshikawa, who stumbled upon the others while looking for the tea ceremony club. Together, they are the amusement club, which has the deceptively simple task of keeping its members entertained. Along with the student council and the odd family member, they strive to enjoy their youth to the fullest. Whether it's whether it's a trip to a hot spring or finishing overdue homework, their lives are never dull, and they will always find an excuse to spend time together. So there you go. Basically, if you even in the synopsis, it pretty much says it. This is the exact same thing as Season 1. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that if you like Season 1, you're going to like Season 2, because it's the same thing but more. It's the same basic, same brand of lighthearted, fluffy, very light Shoujo Ai. The same thing that Season 1 the same thing that season 1 had going for it. So if you liked that, odds are you're gonna like this. So as far as rating goes, how clean or dirty is the anime? I mean, it says this thing is labeled PG-13, and I guess maybe, but it's so light. It's like borderline PG. So there's nothing bad going on. There's no sexual content. There is no language. There's no anything. There's no violence. There's sometimes can be like, I don't know. Like occasionally there's some humor that maybe is PG-13, but barely. It's so light. It's like it was forgettable. Let's put it that way. If there was anything, it was so non-memorable that I couldn't even add it to the review. So it's borderline PG, just like the first season was. So again, nothing new about that. So as far as the genre, again, it is exactly what you would probably assume, which is slice of life, comedy, school, and Shoujo Ai. Again, nothing that you probably didn't already know. Yeah, I mean, and it is labeled Shoujo Ai, and I would also probably, because I don't know, just like season 1, kind of throughout, there's just sprinkled Shoujo Ai just over the top of pretty much the whole thing. But it's very, 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 very light. And just like in season 1, I have my own ships and people that I like together. But ignoring all that, this is Shoujo Ai just like the first season and the other season. I know that one is Shoujo Ai as well. So it's just that's just part of the show. But of course, mostly it is, comedy, slice of life. So that's the reason that I am actually dividing it up, because comedy is often hard for me to watch and get behind, and slice of life is sometimes the same way. So they are enjoyable, but I can't watch too much of them because then I get bored. So that's the reason we're breaking them up, as a matter of fact. So how long is the season? Just like in season 1, this one is also 12 episodes at 23 minutes per episode. Now, the difference is this season has an opening song and a closing song. So that is different, but we will talk more heavily about the music once we get to the music section. However, there is the only thing after the closing song in this one is going to be the preview for the next episode. Now, there might be in the earlier part, like episodes 1, 2, or 3 or something. In those ones, there might be one thing after one of the episodes, but I don't remember it if that is the case. I know that in at least the last half of the season, there was nothing after the closing song. So I would encourage you to check, especially if you get to the end of the episode and you are about a minute 30, if you're a minute and 40 seconds or so away from the ending, then you know that the only thing afterwards is a preview. So if you're to that point, you're in good shape. Don't worry about it. So, moving on to our character section. So, in this one, we're going to do things mostly the same, but a tad differently. So, in the other anime and my other review, I'm pretty sure we just talked about our main 4. And this one, of course, we will touch on each one of them, but we're not going to go too heavily into them. I also believe I mentioned Ayano and Chitose. There's 2 more characters I have to mention in this one. In this one. So we're gonna go very briefly over the main 4. Then we're gonna touch on some very important supporting characters. Technically supporting, but they're so like there that they are borderline main characters, if not main characters. So just so you know. So briefly touching on our first main character, we have Kyoko Toshino. She's of course our adorable, energetic little blonde character, and just like in the first season, nothing new is with any of these characters pretty much. But with Kyoko, she is still very energetic and still very peppy and just living the dream, man. And she's just as goofy as she was in the first season. So if you didn't like her character, then I guess you're not going to like her in this one either, because she is more of the same, just the energizer battery of the group, always energetic, no surprise there. Touching on our next main character, we have Akari Akaza. So Akari is our adorable little redheaded main character. I mean, she's one of the main characters, but a lot of the anime jokes that she is the main character. So in this one, things actually get interesting with Akari. So she's the same, just polite, adorable, loving character that she was in the first season, but in this one, something incredibly fun happens to her because she gets her own appreciation episode that's actually serious, and it was the best. I loved it. Best episode of the entire season, episode 11. So if you get to episode 11, buckle up because this is Akari's episode, and man, that was so stinking hype. I loved that because we'll touch on her when we get to favorite characters and stuff. But I love the fact that Akari got her own appreciation episode, and otherwise, it's more of the same. Lots of jokes that she like gets ignored, doesn't exist, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's what made her appreciation episode in this one so like special, is because obviously a lot of the jokes is joke that she doesn't exist, and occasionally I feel bad for her, man. Like obviously they all do it in good humor, and they're all doing it because they're all obviously friends and everything. But I always feel bad for her because I feel bad for her because she is so stinking relatable. It's actually absurd. Except for the fact that she has close friends. So I guess, in some ways she's relatable, in other ways she's not. Anyway, so it is it was great. If you get to episode 11, buckle up because that was amazing. So it was Akari's appreciation episode, and she's just as adorable and polite and loving as she is in the first season. So nothing new on that front. So, touching on our next main character, we have Yui Funami. So, of course, Yui is, once again, the more mature one of our main 4 characters, and she kind of tries to keep everyone reined in just a little bit. And, I mean, at the same time, she does, like, go with them on their shenanigans and the crazy crap they get up to, but she's still somehow the more mature one. She's still somehow the one that like kind of reins everybody in just a little bit, brings everyone down to earth. That's not new. There is a lot more lots of goofiness that they get up to, and Yui's always there along for the ride just like everybody else, but she somehow still manages to be more or less the mature one. So touching on our next main character, she is our the little pink-haired, youngest looking one, I would say, is Chinatsu Yoshikawa. So Chinatsu, once again, it's the same thing. She's still super bad, crushing on Yui, and looking for any opportunity to throw her arms around her, etc., etc. But otherwise, I feel like that she has settled in even better than in the first season, possibly. She definitely in this one feels like a little more one of the group, where in the first one she felt the same way, but in this one I feel like that I don't know. I mean, maybe in this one you kind of forget that she was new once upon a time, and then so she kind of feels a little bit, she feels like she blends in just fine. So, as far as personality, of course, the same thing goes as she was in the first season. That she still is adorable. But speaking of her, there is some running gags that start up in this season. So there's this joke. So Chinatsu has these dual little pigtails and it's obviously, if you see a picture of her, it's hard not to notice. There's this running joke that her hair like eats things, so it's hard to describe, but basically if let's say one of them is bouncing a ball, if it lands in her hair, there's like this like scream, and it sucks it in. Honestly, it's really funny. It's really funny. It's like, especially when it first happens, everyone is like super scared of it. They're like, what the hell was that? So obviously when everyone first sees it, they're super scared of it, but later on they just accept it and then they just have fun with it. But once it gets there, you'll see. But honestly, that actually cracked me up. That really made me laugh. Anyway, otherwise, though, she's the same way she was in the first season. She's just adorable and happy and et cetera, et cetera. Loves Yui, nothing new there. So technically, that's the main character list. But in this one, a couple more characters get a far bigger spotlight. And so there's a far bigger spread between characters. So because of that, I feel the need to talk about 4 other characters that we have. So the next character that we're going to touch on is Ayano I can't say her last name. Sugiura? I can't say her last name, but Ayano. So Ayano is, of course, the student council vice president. And again, I'm pretty sure we touched on her in first season. So, and so she has like purple hair. It's kind of longer. I think she's the tallest of the group. Possibly. She might be the tallest of the group. And then she continues to crush on Kyoko super hard and being super tsundere about it because, of course, she can't admit it because that would be closure. That would be awful. So she continues to be adorable and crushing on Kyoko super hard. But in this one, her and the rest of the student council actually spend a lot more time with the, amusement club. And of course, I super loved that because all of them together, it just blends so super well. And so, of course, I love them together. And of course, I super ship her and Kyoko super hard. Just kind of the same way that I ship Kyoko and Yui super hard. So, it is what it is. Anyway, so moving on to our next it says supporting character, but it's kind of main character. But I'm going to touch on her. We also touched upon her in the first season, which is Chitose. So Chitose, she is the glasses, kind of gives you that kind of the suit. She's the super sweet, almost old lady vibe in some ways, but she's still adorable and always still at Ayano's Ayano's side and everything, and she continues to be just super positive and happy, and just, this kind of their kind of calming, adorable, happy presence, the entire time. Now, in this one, it's interesting because, of course, it is talked about in first season that Chitose has a sister, but Chitose's sister hates Kyoko, and Kyoko keeps messing her, likes to mess with her, and there's all this other stuff to it that is unimportant. But in this one, her sister, whose name I actually don't even remember, Chizuru, that's her name. Her name is Chizuru, I believe. So she actually takes a super big back step, and she's barely in the anime at all, which I'm okay with because she might be my least favorite character, so I'm super okay with that. But anyway, just thought I would rapidly touch on that. But anyway, so Chitose, so she continues to be happy and positive and adorable, and continues to always be at Ayano's side. She's, of course, also on the student council. And, of course, she also continues to ship Ayano and Kyoko super, super hard, much like myself, so I felt like we were connected that way. Anyway, so then we touch on two other characters that we didn't talk about, that we maybe briefly mentioned in the first season. So in this one, there are two other student council members that get a far bigger role in the spotlight. They become far more important in this season, whereas in first season, they were clearly supporting characters. In this one, they feel far more like main characters. So the first one, if I can say her name, Sakurako. I can say it when I'm not recording. I swear to God, I can say it. Sakurako. So Sakurako is blonde, but not as blonde as Kyoko. But she has that adorable. She's adorable and energetic, kind of. I don't want to say like an airhead because she's not, but I don't know. She's always with Himawari, which we'll talk about in a minute. But she's kind of like Kyoko, but less just overly positive. Her and Himawari are always connected at the hip, even though that they say they hate each other and they say that they're always fighting. I mean, everyone knows it's because they secretly love each other. I mean, it's a secret even to them, but they get a far bigger role in the spotlight, and we'll talk about the other one in a minute. But Sakurako is far more on the kind of gives you that younger vibe where she's always trying to compete with someone older than her. I don't get the feeling that I don't know if they're younger or older. They're probably the same age. But she just has that younger, more immature vibe. But her and Himawari are always attached at the hip, and they're always fighting, but it kind of gives you that whole it's because they're flirting with each other thing. And even the anime is aware of this. Because there's lots of times, there's a few times in the anime where some other characters where the characters just... Sorry, I lost my train of thought. My phone lit up and I glanced at it. Anyway, but they're always attached at the hip and they're always fighting. But even the anime is aware, because the anime talks too about how when they were tiny little kids, they signed a marriage certificate and they were super sweet with each other. It's et cetera, et cetera. Some of Sakurako's older sisters comment on that, and it was awesome because it kind of proves what you were thinking, at least what I was thinking, which is that they're really adorable together, to be honest. Anyway, so that's basically Sakurako. She's kind of feels that, has that immature vibe, and she's always fighting, kind of flirting / fighting with Himawari all the time. So, and she is also on the student council, but she only joined because Himawari joined, and I'm pretty sure. And if memory serves, so that's basically her. So we're gonna touch on Himawari as well, and then we'll talk about their dynamic a little bit, because they're always together to the point where it's hard to talk about one without the other. So we're gonna touch on Himawari, then we'll talk about the pair of them. So Himawari, so she has purple hair, but it doesn't look the same shade as Ayano's, and she definitely has that more mature vibe. She looks, I think, older than her age, possibly, so she's very opposite to Sakurako. So her and Sakurako have been friends since they were kids, but the older they got, the more they just tend to fight with each other, but they're always attached, and they're always joking, I had nowhere else to go, so I'm here with you, so I came to see you, or whatever. And so it's stuff like that. So you're joking, so it's funny for the viewer, because you're like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, nowhere else to go, but it is super, super adorable because they get a far bigger spotlight. So and again, I'm trying really hard to focus on Himawari, but it's not working because I want to talk about them together for a minute. But anyway, Himawari. In personality, she feels far more mature than Sakurako does. But at the same time, she always is there kind of fighting with her. So Sakurako has that very immature vibe, whereas Himawari has the far more mature, kind of motherly vibe. And often Sakurako needs help with homework because she doesn't like doing it, and Himawari is always the one that she goes to, and Himawari always helps her. It very much feels like an older, it very much in some ways has like a motherly, caretaker vibe, but it's also incredibly adorable how Sakurako always runs to Himawari first thing, and Himawari always backs her up with, whatever. But again, they fight constantly the entire time. So I don't want that to sound like they're getting along, because in some ways they're not, but in other ways it's because they love each other. But anyway, Himawari, other than dealing with Sakurako, tends to be pretty quiet. She's also, of course, on the student council, and she tends to be more on the quiet side, whereas Sakurako tends to be very, very loud. And so she's not too quiet, because the second that Sakurako starts messing with her, she gives it back immediately. So she's not shy by any means, and she's not super quiet either. She always gives it right back to Sakurako, because she doesn't take no crap. So, basically, that is the pair of them. Now, they get a much, much bigger role in this season than in the last one. Like I said, in this season, in first season, I don't know if I even touched on them, and they very much felt like supporting characters. Whereas in this one, just like with like Ayano, for instance, they feel borderline main characters. And in this one, they actually get their own episode. Plus the fact that they're in like most of the other episodes. So just like with Ayano, they're pretty much main characters. And I'm okay with that, because they were interesting and fun enough that you didn't feel like they were detracting from anybody else on screen. And so it's their relationship is adorable, even though of course they do fight. Again, everyone knows it's because they love each other, and of course I shipped that to death, so I was okay with that. But that's basically it for our characters that are super, super prevalent. The student council president, the one who actually can't she speaks, but no one hears her except for her that one teacher. She is in it, and that other teacher's in it as well. But they barely get touched on, and they barely have a few appearances. But they are very much supporting characters. Another character that has very little appearances is actually Akari's older sister, Akane, and Akane is very much there's a lot going on with her, and she is touched on in the first season and a little bit in this one as well, but very much a supporting character, so not too much reason to go into any of them. But that's pretty much our character list, so that brings us to our favorite / most hated characters. For favorite, Akari continues to be my favorite character. I love her to death. And of course, all of my and I don't really have anyone that I hate. There's no character that I hated. There's lots of... Could my iPad just kindly be quiet, please? That would just be great. Anyway, sorry, I just hear constant beeping to my left. Anyway, so of course, just like in the first season, my ships aren't really any different. I ship Kyoko and Yui. I also ship Kyoko and Ayano. That they are adorable together. I ship Himawari and Sakurako to death, and I also ship that president with her teacher. No, I don't care. And I ship them too. So there's ships everywhere. Ships everywhere. And again, I'm okay with that. That's part of the reason this makes this show such good Shoujo Ai goodness, because there's hints for everything you want without disappointing you in any particular area. So you can ship whatever you want to, because it's not gonna confirm it explicitly, but it's not gonna also tell you for sure that's not true. So you can get away with shipping whatever you want to. Anyway, so that brings us to animation and music. So just like it's very similar to the first season. Of course, in this season they do introduce a closing and opening song, and they're very adorable. They're very, very cute. Exactly what you'd expect from a show like this, and they perfectly fit really well with, of course, the show itself. They perfectly sum up the whole thing. They're very adorable, and they're kind of something that you can kind of like nod your head to, and you're kind of grooving out to just a little bit. And so they're also very, very good. And so, as far as animation, again, exactly what you'd expect. The animation in this one is very, very good, very bright and colorful and happy. The same thing like in Season 1. And so, otherwise, there's nothing too much new there. There was, I will say, so in Akari's episode where she gets her appreciation episode, and it actually had some straight-up serious moments, which was amazing. In those moments... I think it was in that one. There was a song that hit that was super honestly touching, and that was the point. It was supposed to be touching. It was supposed to actually get you to feel something, and a little less goofy and a lot more serious. And they were trying to put you in the zone a little bit. And the song that played during it was really, really adorable. And I won't say that it made me tear up, because it didn't, but it, like, I could feel it, like deep down. I knew, I was like, this is awesome. This is so touching. It was adorable. And not enough to bring me to tears, but enough that it was adorable and you super, super loved it. And so it was one of the reasons that made episode 11 so stinking good, and Akari's appreciation episode so good as well. And that's pretty much it. Because of the posture I've been doing as I've been reading this, I'm in lots of pain. And anyway, it continues to be very, very good and adorable. And that's basically it. So that brings us to our final rating and recommendation. Final rating, I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5. Very good. This anime made no mistakes worth noting and is definitely worth a buy. So, of course, that is the same score that Season 1 got, and just because it's a lot more of the same in the best way. You know what I mean? What made Season 1 good made Season 2 great as well. They just gave a little more screen time to, they kind of fleshed out the side characters a little more, and they added, and then of course lots of new hijinks and craziness, and that was awesome. So for recommendation, if you've watched the first season and you like it, I recommend it. If you are thirsty for anything Shoujo Ai, much like myself, I recommend it as well. And it's just super, super good. So of course, that's pretty much it. So as we did with first season, I will find something else to watch, something on the shorter side of things most likely, and we'll do that. I'll watch it, I will review that, and then we will hop on for season 3, it looks like, but I want to check this. This is just season 3, isn't it? Okay, so it looks like there is an OVA sequel. Okay, and then after that, is there another OVA? Oh, wow, okay, so it looks like maybe another OVA possibly? And then comes season 3. Oh, okay. All right. So it looks like there's some OVAs to watch in between, and then there is, yeah, it looks like there is some OVAs, and then there is season 3. So anyway, I will probably watch those OVAs and review them as part of season 3, most likely, just for simplicity. But anyway, and so yeah, so it's very, very good. I absolutely recommend it. So I will find something else to watch, and we'll do that review. Then I'll hop on. I'll watch season 3 plus the OVAs, I guess, and then we'll do that review, and then we'll continue knocking this thing out. But I don't know how many seasons there is total. Because plus, I mean, I know that there's 3, and it looks like plus 2 little OVAs in between. I'm trying to get to what was after, because it said sequel. So is this like season? Okay, so it looks like that there is an OVA. There is an OVA after. Looks like there is an OVA after season 3 that takes place. But it is the last thing that's out, pretty much. And so so it looks like season 3 is the last full season that's out. There is lots of OVAs that dance around it. So I'll probably watch all the OVAs and the 3rd season, and then do all that review all at once. Is probably what'll happen. So. However, if you are wishing there was more Yuru Yuri, it looks like the very last OVA. It looks like it came out in September 18th of 2019. So that's super hype, because that actually gives you a lot of hope that there could be another season. If you really wanted one, that could give you hope for one, because up until the end of 2019, pretty much they were still making stuff for Yuru Yuri. So if you are hoping there's going to be more, of course I agree. I totally agree, and I also want more. So you know, if we're lucky, we will get more. Anywho, but that is going to call it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.